Another step. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. Another step. It's a bit of a double entendre. The Celtics may have taken another step toward repeating as champions. The Celtics may be doing another step transaction. We'll get to all that shortly. As you can see from the background, if you're watching on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, I am in Chicago, having completed just last night a show at City Winery in Chicago. To all the people who showed up, thank you. Big crowd, fun show. The plan is for you to see that show this week on July 5th. We'll release that on DraftKings Network, in the feed, audio, video, YouTube, everywhere. That's the hope. That's what we think will happen. During the day yesterday, all sorts of news came out as I was getting to Chicago, furiously texting back and forth with Coca, putting the rundown together for today's show. And the headline, of course, was what's going on with the Celtics. I could start with all of the money they're giving out, but I'd rather start with what will and could become only the second franchise to be sold in the year following winning a championship. It's a heck of a trivia question. I did not come up with it. I thought for a moment it could have been the Marlins with Wayne Huizenga after winning in 97. Could have been the Pittsburgh Penguins. I thought they'd won a cup and then Lemieux may have sold it. The answer is the only time it's ever happened is when the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles won the World Series in 2002 and sold the team to Artie Moreno in 2003. Well, the Celtics did something very bizarre yesterday, and it came in the form of a press release. The press release was from the owner, the same guy. His name is Wyc Grousbeck, the same guy who hoisted the trophy, the same guy who's the face of the franchise, but is the general partner of a larger investment group. But he gets the attention. The same guy who gave an interview quite recently, like right after the Celtics won the title, saying, hey, we're good. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We love this. Well, guess what? Boston Basketball Partners, the ownership group of the Celtics, this is a press release, announced today its intention to sell all the shares of the team. The controlling family of the ownership group, after considerable thought and internal discussion, has decided to sell the team for estate and family planning considerations. You know, as a fan of Nothing Personal, that one of the main reasons teams are sold by older people is for estate planning considerations and estate tax purposes. But then there was a second paragraph in the statement, very bizarre. The managing board of the ownership group expects to sell a majority interest in 2024 or early 2025, with the balance closing in 2028, and expects Wyc Grousbeck to remain as the governor of the team until the second closing in 2028. Does that sound familiar to you? It sounds a lot like the arbitration that's going on in Minnesota. The deal for Glenn Taylor to sell a team to A-Rod and Mark Lowry, but let's just say A-Rod for brevity purposes. The same sort of step transaction that the NBA doesn't want to have happen anymore, ever. The Mark Cuban Mavericks transaction, not a step transaction. He sold the team to Miriam Adelson, and then he was out. No basketball operations, no nothing. He stayed as a little limited partner, no biggie, nothing to do with running the team. There is no scenario under which Adam Silver will allow the Celtics to be sold in a step transaction other than a deal to an existing partner pre-approved of the Celtics. Not someone who owns a piece of the Rockets or someone who owns a piece of the Hawks or someone who owns a piece of the Lakers. The only way this sort of transaction that the Celtics announced they are doing is if they sell it to Steve Pagliuca. You may not know that name, but he's about a 20% current partner right now. You may not know that name because he's a limited partner, doesn't get the attention, but the NBA knows that name. The NBA knows very well him, his approval, his operating modus operandi, everything that you need to know. The relationship between Grousbeck and Steve Pagliuca. It's not Glenn Taylor and A-Rod. These are current partners. So the fact that the Celtics released a statement that included a step transaction, knowing that the NBA will not allow a step transaction but to an internal limited partner existing for the team, means, in fact, the Celtics are not, quote unquote, up for sale. The Celtics are not entering a bidding process. The Celtics are not hiring somebody to find a buyer for their team. It means that the Grousbeck family has decided to sell, let me say it so it's clearer, 4869. It means that the Grousbeck family has decided to sell to Steve Pagliuca. That's my view. And it's buttressed by another extremely bizarre statement. The thing about being a limited partner, as you very well know, is very limited. Don't talk to the press. Buy your own season tickets. No clubhouse access. You stay behind the scenes. Sending out your own press release? Unthinkable. Unconscionable. Absolutely would never happen until yesterday, when the same man I'm talking about released his own press release. I am grateful and thankful for the 21-year partnership I've enjoyed with Wyc and Irv Grousbeck, the Epstein family, and all the incredible Celtics investment partners. And he goes on to talk about how great they've been, what a run, the finals, this, that, and the other thing, the championships, being a great community investor, being a great community partner. And then we get to it. Being a co-investor and managing partner of the Celtics has been a great honor and a labor of love. I hope to be a part of the Celtics moving forward and will be a proud participant in the bidding process that has been announced today. Nope. I'm sorry. There is no bidding process for the Boston Celtics. That press release by that limited partner, if that doesn't tell you the exact step transaction that's about to be announced and take place, that has already likely been negotiated, regardless of the $4.7 billion valuation by Forbes. If you think that a deal has not already been negotiated, then you're wrong. And let me give you another little nugget about the Celtics. Did you see all the deals they did yesterday? There's going to be a lot of attention about Jayson Tatum getting the biggest deal in NBA history, that big supermax. Coca, someone asked me about that during the show last night. Do I see players' salaries continue to go up? I believe was the question. And I answered it with yes, because when revenue goes up, salaries go up because salary and payroll are tied in the CBA. But then I talked about what supermax deals are. And I mentioned that supermax apply to a very, very tiny, teensy percentage of the players' union. It just so happens that Jayson Tatum is eligible for a supermax, and that's how you get to 314 over 5. That's a $60 million AAV. Plus, frankly, 60 would only get you 300. He still has 14 over 5, which is almost 3. It's 62.8 off the top of my head AAV for Jayson Tatum. So the Celtics announced the Jayson Tatum deal. Derek White gets 4 years, $125.9 million. This is yesterday. Last year, they gave Jaylen Brown 5 years, $285. They gave Porzingis, I don't know what he has, maybe 60 over 2 left, whatever his deal is. If you are selling a team in a normal way where you're out looking for bidders and you are out trying to get the most you can for your team, do you know what you're not doing? You're not signing players like Tatum and White to these deals unless you've identified the buyer, you've spoken to the buyer, and the buyer is on board with your plan. Otherwise, you are at risk of Jayson Tatum signing, getting hurt, not performing, something bad happening where you don't get to terminate him, where you still have to pay him and he's not good, and you go out to market and an owner says, I'll give you $5 billion, but there's going to be a purchase price adjustment because I'm not paying for Jayson Tatum. You don't want to take that chance. It's not worth it. Therefore, if you look at all of the clues, it would be simple for anyone to conclude what I'm concluding. I'm not sure people are, but now they are. The Celtics are going to be sold to one of their limited partners. Wick will keep control until 28 when this other limited partner will take over, and everybody co-signed on the Celtics on-court moves. There were a bunch of, I guess we got to do a official wait to see, which I'm going to do, just so I can be on record and not, if I want to be accountable if I'm wrong, because of course, A-Rod could stand up and say, oh, forget the Timberwolves, I'm going to buy the Celtics. Or Mark Cuban could say, I'm back, baby. So wait to see. No external step transaction for the Celtics. What that means is that if there's a step transaction, it's only because there was an internal sale. If the Celtics are sold to anyone externally, it will be an immediate takeover. It will not be a step transaction. No external step transaction for the Celtics. Wait to see. I had a wait to see on Klay Thompson, and I am upset. I'm upset because I'm thankful for the amazing audience that we have. I love that one of you contacted me on davidsamsonpodcast.com and said, you have a Klay Thompson wait to see that he would sign with the Warriors. He did sign with the Warriors. They then traded him, but you could take a victory on that wait to see. I called up Coca. I told him the story, read him the email, and before Coca could say a word, I said, I'm not taking the yes. And the reason I'm taking the loss on the wait to see, which was from June, it was a recent one, like 5 days ago, where I said Klay is going to re-sign with the Warriors. I said that with the intent that he was going to play for the Warriors. I did not say it would be a sign and trade. I did not think it would be a sign and trade. I thought that he would take less money to stay on the Warriors, to stay with his group, if you will. But I was wrong. So that's a lost wait to see. Why? Because Klay Thompson has been swooped up by Miriam Adelson. Klay Thompson is forming a big three. It's not a big three. There's no way he's good enough to be a big three. I can't imagine they're matching him with Luka and Kyrie, and they're saying that that's what Dallas now has. I give Golden State all the credit in the world. They recognized it was time to move on from Klay Thompson. They recognized he was not the player he used to be during the Warriors dynasty, and it would be devastatingly wrong to give Klay Thompson $50 million over 3. The fact that the Lakers are rumored to have maybe offered him 80 over 4, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about LeBron James running the team, then nothing does. Because to LeBron James, I'm sure he would say, oh my God, Klay Thompson's exactly what we need. And Rob Pelinka is, great, LeBron, anything else? The best thing that ever happened if you're a Laker fan is they didn't sign Klay Thompson. But the Mavericks are going to get him. The Warriors took the high road, as they should. No reason not to. It ends on a good note. They said, we can't wait to retire your number. We think you're the greatest. You have the franchise record for three-pointers, for points in a quarter. We have all these titles. We won 4 in 6 NBA Finals appearances. We love you, man. It was just a love fest. Not all careers end that way on teams. Sometimes, most times, I would say, actually, Coca, most times it ends badly. This Klay, I don't even want to call it a divorce. It's like a mutual understanding. It's this. It's what CEOs say sometimes, or managers, and it's always wrong. We've mutually agreed to part ways. I can't even say it with a straight face, but is that what the Warriors and Klay have done? It sort of feels that way, doesn't it? The Lakers reportedly offered him 20 a year, but they wanted to send D'Angelo Russell to the Warriors, and Golden State said, listen, we appreciate that, but we don't plan on doing a Patrick Ewing here. We're not going to screw our franchise going forward by taking crap for crap. Let's just jettison the money and be done. Let's just be done with it. And so they are. It's 3-pointers in a game. Sorry, that's Klay Thompson's record, not 3-pointers. That's, of course, Steph Curry. That's, of course, Steph Curry. So I was interested in Klay Thompson going to the Mavericks. I'm not sure what that does to the odds. As a matter of fact, can we call on DraftKings and look at Western? Do they do this? Are they out yet? Odds to win the Western Conference. And the reason I'm asking is that the Oklahoma City Thunder signed Josh Hartenstein yesterday, and it blew my mind. Way more than Klay Thompson, way more than Jayson Tatum. Hartenstein got $87 million from the Thunder for 3 years. He got $29 million a year. This is a backup center, decent court vision. He can pass once in a while, get some good offensive rebounds once in a while. He can score for you 5 to 7 points. $29 million to go to the Thunder. He's now paid more annually than Jalen Brunson. You think the Knicks were going to give Hartenstein $29 million while they gave Jalen 26, and Jalen would have looked at them and said, up your nose with a rubber hose. Not going to happen. So Hartenstein goes to the Thunder, and there were people on Twitter, or there were people somewhere in chat rooms or someplace I was saying, oh, Oklahoma City, man, they're now with Hartenstein. They've got to be favorites. That's got to be the key acquisition. I don't know if they are or not, but that would seem hard for me to even believe that him going to the Thunder would make them the number one team. I would find that difficult, if not impossible. As a matter of fact, I think the Knicks are fine without him. Totally fine. And I'm not sure he makes an incremental difference. The Thunder have the best odds to win the West and to win the title, tied with the Nuggets. The best odds in the West to win the title, tied with the Nuggets. So there's no way to look. Can we turn back time, share, and see what it was 2 days ago? Because if you're telling me that Hartenstein brought them to the Nuggets level in terms of odds to win the West, then there's something wrong. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark. I don't know how we have the ability to do that. You know how on certain websites you can go to a snapshot of a day to get a stat for a player? I don't know that you can do that on DraftKings or on any gambling site with odds. But in any case, that's my position. NBA free agency continues. The biggest name on the board for PR purposes, of course, they're going to keep talking about LeBron is the biggest name on the board. LeBron James is not on the board. If you've got a free agent board and LeBron James is on it, then I am calling BS on your board. LeBron James is a Laker. He is signing with the Lakers. He's playing with the Lakers. He's playing with Bronny. That's always been his plan. That's all he cares about. Hard stop. And I'm not saying I blame him, though I've seen some amazing segments by people who are both defending LeBron and attacking LeBron. So I started thinking about where I stood on this, Coca. This is off the subject. We didn't even talk about this pre-show, but I started thinking about where am I with LeBron and Bronny. And when Bronny was signed, I gave you a thought, and I want to reiterate it. I absolutely agree with LeBron forcing the Lakers to draft Bronny because it's cool to have your kid drafted. In Major League Baseball, we draft kids of players or kids of executives or kids of friends of the owner all the time because then they get forever on their resume to say they were drafted by a Major League Baseball team. And they're not going to be Major League players, but they at least get to say they were drafted. It's a nice favor. You can do it. No problem. Bronny didn't have to be drafted by the Lakers to sign with the Lakers because nobody was going to draft Bronny because he wasn't good enough to be drafted. So Bronny could have just signed as a free agent, a minimum deal, a two-way deal with the Lakers. But LeBron wanted Bronny to be drafted because he'll always be a second-round draft pick now. Fine. I actually have no issue with it because it's not as though the Lakers were going to have a second-rounder make their team anyway. Sometimes you do, but LeBron wasn't going to just have some ordinary second-rounder make his team. And the reason why we're not blaming LeBron for any of this is who of us wouldn't do what he's doing? I can't find one person. So LeBron is off the board. Who's the number one free agent on the board? What is the NBA doing? The NBA is again showing you that they've got it right. And the reason they have it right is that this doesn't go for 8 weeks or 12 weeks. This goes for like 4 days. And that's it. MLB wants to do that so badly. But they won't do it. Because there's no salary floor or salary cap in baseball. You've got agents in baseball who are going to hold out till spring training, sometimes after spring training, because there's no limit to the number of teams. You know how now with basketball, well, there's 4 teams with interest and there's 3 teams who can fit in this size deal, which is the size deal that he's going to get. It doesn't work that way in baseball. There are 30 teams in theory who can fit any player in at any deal. Therefore, no rush. But baseball wants there to be this sort of excitement where you own the moment. MLB free agency, it never is like that. There's never this flurry. And on a side note, if you still want to believe that Paul George never spoke to the Sixers or that Isaiah heard from OKC and said 3 minutes later, oh man, thank you for 87 over 3, please give me a break. Brian Windhorst is reporting something today that fascinated me. He's reporting that LeBron has given the Lakers a list of names that he'd be willing to take a pay cut for. Hold on, I need to shed I have an allergy. I'm sorry. It's so beautiful of LeBron to do that. People ought to be so thankful if you're a Laker fan. Jack, Diane, John Mellencamp, you all got to be very, very thankful that LeBron is so on it and so selfless that he has decided to submit his list of acquisitions. Don't you want to know who's on the list? Any friends? Family? Anybody? Is Kyrie on the list? That'd be funny if it were a player, not even a free agent. Rob, go get Kyrie. Reunited, and it'll feel so good, peaches and herb. The Lakers are a mess. They're done. Have we done a wait to see about the Lakers? We did a wait to see that Bronny will play in LeBron's first game when he's healthy. If that's game 1 of the season, it's game 1. We did a wait to see that Bronny will not have 1 playoff minute. I think it's time to go another wait to see on the Lakers, because just hearing everything about how LeBron's doing it, I'm in, but Father Time is about to win in a very significant way. The Los Angeles Lakers will have another year where they will not be above the 7th seed. Wait to see. Oh, it's not me having no faith in JJ Redick, Coca. That's funny. It really is not that. Although I don't, but no. It's me just looking at the Lakers roster and telling you that they have not been higher than a 7th seed in how long? Someone had it on Levitard recently. It could have been a mean. Somebody had this. It could have been Coca, though. That the last time the Lakers were above a 7th seed was blank, and it's way longer than you think. Wait to see. That streak exists and will continue next season. All right, we're going to take a break, please. When we come back, I'm in Chicago, so I'm reviewing the Bears season 3, which takes place in Chicago. I'm going to do that after the break, and then we're going to have a talk about the All-Star game in baseball. We talked about the new home run derby rules. Something came out in the Boston Globe yesterday about the Red Sox that caught my attention, and I think it will catch yours as well. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is David Samson coming at you every day live at 8 a.m. on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button. Please tell your friends about us. We can also be seen on the DraftKings Network at 10 o'clock every morning leading up into Levitard, who's on at 11. And also, if you're listening, you don't know that I'm sitting in a hotel room and I will be on a plane very shortly out of O'Hare Airport back to LaGuardia. And we will do our show again tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. just not from this hotel. We had fun in Chicago, though. Had some deep dish pizza. There was no way I wasn't going to do that. I ate it a little too close to showtime. Luckily, I had Gaviscon going for me, but I did onion and garlic deep dish at Giordano's, and it was phenomenal. Now, it's not a Michelin star restaurant, but it is a factory of people. I went late. I had a sound check at 4:30 Central. I probably ate at 3 o'clock Central. Not lunchtime, not dinner time, not even old person dinner time or young person lunchtime. It was nobody eat at this time, except the restaurant was packed, like to the gills. 30-minute wait. So went to the bar. And then when you order, it's 45 minutes for the pizza to come, which stressed me out because I didn't want to miss sound check. So I had to eat quickly, which definitely impacted the digestive situation, which may or may not have manifested itself during the show last night. I'll never tell. The Bear season 3 came out. The Bear, the highly decorated show that I've reviewed the first 2 seasons of. Season 3 dropped on June 27th. I immediately binged it, finished it June 28th. So I've been done for 4 days. Finished it Friday. Friday, very late night. So Saturday morning, I watched the 8th episode. It's an 8-episode arc. I made the mistake of going online after and looking at a few comments and a few reviews, and people were negative about it. Let me just say, they're wrong. If you are a fan of The Bear, season 3 is perfect. The music, unbelievable. The acting, the intensity, the intense close-ups, the backstories. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. And her episode, if you remember her episode, which I want to say was 2-6. Season 2, episode 6, but it could have been 2-8. This year it was 3-6, but it could have been 3-8. I'm totally blanking. But Jamie Lee Curtis is the Bears' mom, and she's back. And in what should be an Emmy award-winning performance. Jeremy Allen White should win the Emmy. Again, the show should win the Emmy again. I believe all of the stars were that good. It's that good. Coca made me promise not to spoil it. Can I spoil one thing? This is just one quick thing. It's not a big deal. Don't be upset about it. Coca, don't lose your mind because I don't think you will. But just hear this for 10 seconds. Do you know what that is? Coca, you took your headphones off. You're the best. It's a song by Eddie Vedder. It's a remake, but it's a song by Eddie Vedder called Save It for Later. And when you watch the season, you will immediately know why I just played that. Don't you love music and shows that bring you to a place and then you get to go back to that place every time you hear that music again? I can't be the only one. I can't be. I may be the only one who had the Nats over the Mets yesterday. We're 84-101. Our modest 2-game winning streak is over. It's so modest I can hardly contain myself. The Mets scored 6 in the top of the 10th, and they only won by 2 because the Nats countered with 4. Game ended with runners on base, the winning run at the plate, actually. Mackenzie Gore pitched very well. I think he went 5 innings and gave up a run. When am I going to listen to myself and start doing the first 5? Well, not today. I got a pick for you today. Are you a Red Sox fan? Are you a Marlins fan? 2 of our bigger cities. So many of you are either Red Sox or Marlins fans. The Red Sox are 166 over the Marlins. The Red Sox have a lot to play for. They're playing for themselves. This is the time of year when you go to your clubhouse and you speak to your guys and you say, hey, we're doing fine. Better than expected. We're proud of you. Keep going. Make us help you. We are 28 days, 4 weeks from today. That's it. 4 weeks from the trade deadline. Every series matters for the next 4 weeks. Every series, the players are telling their GM and president, hey, look at us. Look at us and help. Or look at us, we don't deserve help. The Red Sox may be just the team that can convince its baseball operations staff and maybe even its owner, though maybe not, to help them. To do it when you're playing a team like the Marlins, you don't just win the series. We don't go into a series like that. When we were good and we were playing bad teams, we weren't looking for a split. We weren't looking for a series victory. We were looking for a sweep. And anything short of that, not acceptable. When you're trying to climb into the wild card position or you're trying to hold the wild card position, it is sweeps. We always would say to our fans and our season ticket holders, we look at series victories. Just we want to win 2 out of 3. You win 2 out of 3 at home every series and you split on the road, you're a playoff team. No. There's certain times where you've got to sweep. Red Sox over the Marlins. The Red Sox got my attention yesterday as well over something. I want to talk about all-star voting. I was reading an article that Peter Abraham wrote in the Boston Globe, and it was quite scary for me to read. It brought me back to all of the things that we used to do as a team to get our players selected as all-star starters. And the article talked a bit about how it feels like the fan base is not, voting for any of the Red Sox players. They're not rallying behind the Red Sox players and questioning the relationship between that and Fenway Sports Group. Because you've heard on this show and you've heard everywhere, really, that Fenway Sports Group is being accused of having too many plates in the air spinning. They're worried about Liverpool. They're worried about the Penguins. They're worried about the network they own in Pittsburgh. They're worried about all these other things. They're worried about the PGA Tour. And they're not focused on the Red Sox anymore. And look, exhibit number Gimmel, the Red Sox finish in last place and they stink. Well, if that's been your view, then what do you say about the Red Sox now? Do you say that Fenway Sports Group is paying close attention? I'm going to get it to you right now because I didn't look pre-show and I apologize for that. But I remember that I wanted to. Boston is 8.5 back at 44-39. They are behind Baltimore and the Yankees, who are tied for first. 8.5 out of the division. You say that may be too long. They're 1.5 games back of the third wild card. That's 1.5 games back. That's it. They're 1.5 games up on Houston, by the way. All they have to do is catch Kansas City or Minnesota. They're 2.5 behind Minnesota. They could catch the Yankees, but guess what they are behind the Yankees? Yep, 8.5, because the Yankees are tied for the division lead. So the Red Sox are in a position now where adding makes a ton of sense, but they need a good July. And the reason they need a good July is that the assumption by ownership and baseball operations of the Red Sox was that they were going to be a middling team, that they were not going to be good enough. But it turns out they have been. Therefore, you have to sometimes acknowledge that our offseason evaluation was wrong and we're doing well. Joey Cora, of course, as a manager, is trying to manage his players, but it's Alex Cora, not Joey. Why do because Joey was my guy. It's all the names of the coaches I've had and the managers I've had. They just are so in your brain. Alex Cora, of course, the manager of the Red Sox. Just like a week ago, he said, we just stayed the same and the team around us got better, Cora said of last year's deadline. When you stay put, there's going to be teams that added and they're going to be better than you. It's not that your team was a bad team, but the other ones around you got better. It's not that Alex Cora is saying something that the front office doesn't want him to say. That's a coordinated effort between the front office and the manager to get a message to the players, which is keep showing us, keep doing it, and we are going to get better for you. There is no way that John Henry and Tom Werner and Sam Kennedy, they won't do it. They will not allow a season like this to be wasted when it's an unexpected season, when they're dealing with so many other issues. And I don't mean FSG issues. I mean so many Red Sox issues. They're not selling out the way they used to. They are not the juggernaut of a franchise. From a revenue standpoint, Nesson is a problem. Attendance is a problem. ATP is a problem, average ticket price. There are things that would indicate that there are some issues with the Red Sox. It's happened before. Things are cyclical. But this article in the Boston Globe was trying to say that, is it very telling that the team has not really gotten behind this all-star activity? I remember so well arguing with our owner and our baseball people about all-star because I wanted everybody to be an all-star. This is the one case where I wanted to spend the all-star bonus money because I wanted to be relevant. I wanted a national stage because we didn't have any national games. We were never on Sunday Night Baseball. The All-Star Game is a national jewel event. I wanted the Marlins to be represented. I wanted our uniforms to be there. I wanted our players to be there. I wanted our players to believe that they could get recognition in a small revenue, light market team, and that they don't have to be a Yankee to be in that position. Back before online voting, it was ballots. We would hire people and put them in a room, give them free tickets, and they would simply touch ballots for Marlins players all game long. Boxes and boxes of ballots. We had our employees. We would take time out during the workday. It is now voting time. We would do marketing. We would have ads cut that would show on our broadcast promoting players, promoting ballots. When it's online, we changed and we did hire people with computers with different email addresses to do a ton of voting. Go back. We had a bunch of starters. I'm trying to remember the starters we had in the All-Star game, and I can't off the top of my head. I believe, did Ozuna start the All-Star game the year we hosted in 2017? I'm not exactly, it's terrible. 7 years ago, and I have zero recollection. It really is staggering. The Red Sox right now have no player in the top 2 for any AL starters, which means they're simply not going to have an all-star starter. Is it possible? Is it possible that the ownership was purposeful in this? Absolutely not. Don't be fooled into thinking that. I understand where the article was trying to go. I understand that apathy is something that we always talk about that we don't want. We'd rather have negative than nothing. Of course, positive is better than negative and nothing, but negative and positive are both better than nothing. I don't view the Red Sox fan base as apathetic. I don't believe there's ever a danger of their fan base being apathetic. The manifestation you're seeing of non-sellouts, of non-all-stars, non-voting, that's not apathy. That's actual negativity about the franchise. That negativity can be turned around with a playoff appearance this year, a surprise playoff appearance, even that ends in a first-round loss, and an ad by July 30th. And I think that's what you're going to see. I know John Henry well, and Tom Werner, and Sam Kennedy. They know exactly what's happening right now off and on the field, and they know the opportunity they have. They are not ones to let an opportunity pass. And this is not telling you they're going to take on salary necessarily. You don't have to take on salary to add. The clubhouse doesn't actually care. They want to see new reinforcements come in at the deadline so they can push through August, September, and play in October. That's what players want. That's it. Something happened here in Chicago yesterday. I talked about it a little bit in the live show, but not enough. Got distracted. I don't know what I got distracted by during the show, but without Coca there, he was not with me. We did have someone helpful. We had 2 people in the audience who were super helpful, Coca, reminding me to stay on track and telling me what I was talking about because I forgot myriad times during the show last night. When you're talking for an hour and a half and you have no notes, you're clearly going to forget where you were at some point. Dusty Baker stories, and I couldn't remember telling Dusty Baker stories. So they were yelling from the audience, Dusty Baker, Dusty Baker. Oh, yeah. Dusty Baker. There was big news, though. Arlington made the news, and we covered that, and hopefully you'll see that on Friday. But the Blackhawks made the news, too. And I want to give that attention both today and Friday because I did not give it enough yesterday. Did you see that the NHL has now reinstated 3 former Blackhawks executives who have been out of hockey basically for the last 2.5 years? and this is about the Kyle Beach sexual assault investigation. To refresh your recollection, Kyle Beach was a player for the Blackhawks who in 2010 was being abused by the video coach. The team president, the head of hockey operations, and others were told about this, and they ignored it. Why? They were told about it during a playoff run, and the Blackhawks were on their way to winning a cup. And they said to themselves, hey, we'd much rather win the cup than worry about this mess. Then there was an investigation. Then there were suspensions, to say nothing of lawsuits. Do you remember who was implicated in this? Scotty Bowman's son, Stan Bowman. Remember him? Al McIsaac. What about the former Panthers coach who had to step down as Panthers coach because he was implicated in this too? Joel Quenneville. As a matter of fact, it didn't go directly to Paul Maurice, but there was a season in between, but close enough. What was Paul Maurice doing? No, we don't have to talk about that. There's really no reason to get in front of a bunch of kids in the middle of a lightning storm and start swearing, is there? And Paul Maurice is such a great interview. He's so witty and smart that he could have given him way better. Anyhow, can we get back to the Blackhawks, please? The NHL decided that a lifetime ban is about 2.5 years. That's the going rate for a ban when you do not take sexual assault and abuse seriously. Where do I get that from? And why am I saying it? Because Gary Bettman said it himself. Gary Bettman specifically said, each of these three men have made significant strides in personal improvement by participating in myriad programs, many of which focused on the imperative of responding in effective and meaningful ways to address alleged acts of abuse. The league expects that they will continue this commitment in any future capacity with the NHL and or one of our clubs. So what he's really saying here is that much like you go to rehab when you get caught drinking and driving or doing drugs, or you say you're a sex addict when you get caught cheating, you say that you've got whatever issue you have when you get caught doing whatever it is you're doing. What we're saying here is that not reporting assault is like a thing, but or if you're anti-Semitic, you go meet with rabbis. You're homophobic, you meet with pride groups, LGBTQ, and start marching. But when you don't take sexual assault seriously, all you got to do is meet with a bunch of groups. All you got to do is say, oh, I absolutely recognize this failing in my personality. I've changed. Hallelujah. In just 2.5 years, what I know now, I promise you, Gary, that when there's sexual assault going on, I will always choose to take it seriously and not care about the cup. That's our threshold for reinstatement? That you're going to care more about one of your players being sexually violated than you do about winning a trophy? Winning a piece of metal? I'm not taking this as a joke. That was a baseball Rob Manfred joke. The Stanley Cup, Lord Stanley, it's the greatest trophy of all time. People would do anything to eat pasta out of the Stanley Cup, or to shove a baby in the Stanley Cup, or to shove it into the ocean and have the salt ruin it. Obviously, it's the Stanley frickin' Cup. I'm wondering, would I, in the middle of a World Series run, when approached about a player being sexually assaulted, would I have stood up 20 years ago and said, hold on, we have a problem? Bet your bippy I would. Now, if a player had, and I will admit this will not make Coca happy. If a player came up to me and said they're having an alcohol problem, I would ask him to wait. Hang on. Let's take care of it 8 games from now when we win a ring, if it's one of our good players. I am being reminded in my own head of a player, Matthew, who left the Yankees in the middle of the playoffs to go to rehab for alcohol. I don't want to sully anyone's name by giving a name. I thought it could have been CC Sabathia. I don't remember who it was. And I apologize. If it's not you, CC, it likely is not you. And it may not have happened, but I think it did. But for alcohol, you're doing a bump, whatever you're doing steroids, hitting your wife, and sexually assaulting anybody. That doesn't wait. It's very simple. That's my line. You can have a different line, and I'm totally fine with it. I'm just telling you where I stand. There are two things that no matter where you are in a season are unacceptable. They need to be addressed that minute. I don't care if it's your best player. And it's not steroids, and it's not drugs and alcohol. It's sexual assault and domestic violence. I'm not waiting. I wouldn't have waited in 2003. I wouldn't have waited in 21, in 24, in 34, until my last breath. Of course, you can get at me at David P. Samson and tell me something that I'm forgetting, something that you're wondering, hey, if a player did blank, what would you do? All right, fine. Murder. I got to add that. I guess then we got to add bank robbery. I got to add that. Maybe I should say every felony, but I'm probably not going to say that. So now you're going to make me do an entire list, because that's how devoted you are as fans, that you're going to start submitting things that a player could do that I would say that's more important than winning the World Series. Fine. I give in. There is something. The Blackhawks are just a mess. They're a mess. Do you remember there was this independent investigation about this assault from 2010, and this happened? So they all stepped aside from their roles. They all were basically gotten rid of back in 21. What exactly would have changed in 2.5 years? Do you think that Gary Bettman has made it clear? Because this is a great MLB move. Hey, we're going to make you eligible again. But by the way, you're never going to be hired by anybody. So we get to say that we've provided you with a path to forgiveness. We've acknowledged how well you've done by going to all of these meetings and meeting with all of these people and understanding the depths of your depravity and your willingness to change your value system. You're reinstated and you're eligible to work for an NHL club. Hold on one second. I'm getting a call. Hold on. I'm typing an email. Dear clubs, put this in your deleted special box so it's not discoverable. But we have now reinstated the following 3 individuals. You will not be hiring them. Love, Gary. Bud and Rob don't work that way. They don't send the email. Make the call. Do it in person. There is no chance that either of these 3 people will be back in the NHL. And they shouldn't be. What is the scenario where a team looks at them and says, this is what we want? Remember, it's all about the announcement. It's all about the opening press conference. You actually have to say that you have done your due diligence and that you absolutely are in agreement that the improvements they've made, that was an isolated incident. We've gotten all the facts, and we totally believe them that they are cured. Hallelujah. Which front office is going to do that? I couldn't look my owner in the face under any scenario and say that I know enough about these guys that they're fine and that in this scenario it won't happen again because I'm the team president and I'll make sure it won't happen. You're covered, Mr. Owner. It just doesn't work that way. We didn't even get to talk about what's going on in Detroit, Coca. We will. All right, when we come back tomorrow, we're doing a live show tomorrow. Tomorrow is July 3rd. Then there's no show on July 4th. And then on July 5th, we're going to show you the Chicago show that we taped last night. But tomorrow is a regular show, regular topics, regularly at 8 a.m., because we spoke to DraftKings and we had a very simple agreement with them. Do a show. It's just business. We'll see you tomorrow. This is nothing personal.